I want to speak just briefly about the survey results. So as of a couple hours ago, every single person answered the survey as having or as being in survival mode. That was actually really exciting to me to see. Number one, that we even have a diagnostic framework for you to recognize this is where I am. However, I was really specific with the language when we created the survey. And it said, where is your business? I don't know if you caught that, but I asked where your business is. Most of us, when we see questions like that and we are attached to our business, we take it as, where am I as a person? How many of you recognize now, even as I'm making that distinction, that you probably answered some of those questions as, where are you as a business owner? And it sucks. Thank you for your honesty. About half of you raise your hand. It sucks to feel like we personally are in anything that doesn't feel good as a label. So to say I personally am in survival isn't fun for pretty much anybody. But that's not what the question asked. The question is, where's your business? And one of the most important things that we have to do is separate our person from our business so that you can build the business more, by the way. But we have to detach who we are as a person from the business that we've built. And if your business is actually in survival, but you don't know it or you won't admit it, and you're trying to bring a survival business that needs oxygen to a level 3 successful business, till the end of time, that won't work. Because you can't skip steps. It's just not possible. So I really honor and acknowledge those of you that recognize, okay, this is where my business is, and this is the next step, and this is the model that I want to create. So the majority of you want to follow the business model. And my definition of a business model, and this is stuff I just made up. So this isn't like some industry standard. Somebody else might use different labels. But my definition of a business model is when you simply just want to do the things that will allow you to coach people and help people and not worry about all the automation and all the scaling and to be on 7 different social media platforms and have a giant team. Actually, the majority of you don't even care about learning how to build a team. Only, I think, 3 people? Michelle was like, yeah, tell me about how to build a team, which is actually really good for us to know. Now, for those of you that do want to know that doesn't mean we're not going to teach any of that stuff. But what we found is that the majority of you are in a very similar place when it comes to the business success. For the most part, your business is in survival. If we focus there and we go, how can we give this business oxygen? Now we can put all of our focus there rather than how do we scale? How do we follow somebody else's model? How do I do the things that other people are doing? How do I follow the leader? All of that is going to make it really, really difficult if this is where your business is. And if I'm not speaking to all of you, because some of you might not have done the process, again, I'm not saying this whole program is going to be only focused on that. So wherever you are, we're going to provide a support system so that wherever you are, we're going to help you get to whatever that next step is. But we can't get to the next step until we know the current step, until we know exactly where we are. So that's one of the main things that came out of the survey results, is that for the most part, pretty much everybody's business is in survival, which is awesome. Another thing that we want to talk about is the income. We asked, where are you? Like, how much money have you made? And it's totally fine if you didn't answer that question. One of the options is I'd rather not share, which is fine. And then how much money do you want to make? So I am not in the business of shutting down anybody's dreams at all. What I am in the business of is being real. Every single thing that all of you want is possible. Some of you said, I just want to make like an extra $20,000. Awesome. There's a recipe for that. Some of you want to make several $100,000. Awesome. There's a recipe for that. Here's what your results don't care about: how much you want anything. One of the most liberating concepts that I learned is that my business doesn't care. My business bank account doesn't care. The business systems that I have set up, they don't care. They don't have the capacity to care. Money doesn't care. Money doesn't have the capacity to care. The outcomes that will be produced will only be produced by the recipes that we follow, and the recipes don't care. And I don't mean to say that in any kind of demeaning way, because you guys, this is one of the most liberating emotional realizations of my life. Because too often we place care where not only does it not matter, it doesn't help. We can't care our way into results. We can't dream our way into results. We can't emotion our way into results. The emotion can be fuel to do the actions, to follow the recipe, and the recipes can produce the results. So there is a place for care. It's just not where most coaches put it. And most coaches put care where it actually makes it infinitely harder, right? So I want that to be a liberating realization for you, so that you can fuel your efforts and your actions with the emotion that has the capacity to fuel it, but not think that your care is what's going to create the results, or that your motivation is what's going to create the results. Is this making sense for everyone? Like, I want to be careful with this message, and I also want to be brutally honest with this message, because I actually do care that you get the results that you want, right? So every single result that you guys put in your recipe, my response is awesome. There's a way to do that. And the only way to produce the result that you want is to do what that result requires. I'm going to say that again. The only way to produce the result that you want is to do what that result requires. Not to do what you hope it requires, what it actually requires, right? One of the things that we said in that bicycle video, how many of you watched that bicycle video, the backwards bike video? Was that as mind-blowing for you as it was for me? Like, that's this work, right? So one of the things out of that bike video is the truth no matter what we think about it. It actually doesn't matter what we think about it. The truth is the truth. Requirements are requirements. So I want that to be actually a really empowering concept for you, because then we can just focus on follow the recipe. And if we follow the recipe will always produce only the results that the recipe can produce. So if we want to change the results, don't think harder on them. If we want to change the results, we're going to change the recipe. And I'm telling you, this is like, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about that. That truly is one of the most liberating concepts when I got it, that exploded so much in my life, in my business, in my joy, in my happiness, in my presence, right? So I hope it's landing on you with the level of hope and maybe even excitement, even if it doesn't make sense, or even if it goes against what you believe to be true or what you want to be true. And everything that I teach, everything Michelle teaches is just going to come from everything that we've learned in a combined like 25 plus years in this industry. And there's always a caveat, and I'll give this caveat to you right now. anything that works for you, keep doing. Anything that works for you. I have no concept of right or wrong based on my ego. No concept. My definition of right is what works, and my definition of wrong is what's not working. So if there's something that we say, we're talking about what usually works for most people, and if you are the asterisk, if you are the exception to the rule, awesome. Then we'll support you as the exception to the rule, right? So I just want you to know that never will I actually stand behind anything as like, no, this is the right thing to do, if your recipe is producing something else, right? So I don't have any like ego attachment to anything that I teach. So please be open to disagreeing or offering a different perspective. And we're going to support you inside of all of that we possibly can. The final thing I want to say, this is going to be 2 minutes. The final thing is, we asked the question on how clear you are on your seeker. You guys know one of our philosophies is getting clear on your seeker. More for you than anything else. We're not going to dive into that because it'll be too long of a discussion. But the whole point is just so that you'll get into motion more, right? And the more clarity you have on your seeker, the more you'll attract people that don't match your seeker's profile. The more general you get, the less you'll attract the people that you're actually trying to attract. That's just what we've learned over the years. And many of you said that you have a lot of clarity on your seeker. And I am not going to say what I'm about to say as any kind of dismissal of that or challenge of that. I just thought, what if we asked a different question? And your answer might still be the same. Another question, though, which I never thought of till today when we were looking at these results, is, would your seeker agree? Meaning, if you believe you understand your seeker at an 8 out of 10, would they say, yeah, Michelle gets me at an 8 out of 10? Maybe, maybe not. It's just an interesting other question that we could potentially ask, right? All right, so that's all I have to say about the results. We're going to put you in breakout rooms now, unless Michelle has anything you want to add to that before we jump into breakout rooms.
The only thing I wanted to add is an emphasis and then an addition. When you were saying that the only way, right, the only way to get the results that we want is to follow the recipe that's required to get to those results. And the only way to be able to do what the recipe requires is to become the identity of that entrepreneur who can do what the recipe requires to get the results. And I want to bring that back. Say that again.
I love that. I'm glad you highlighted that.
Yeah, because that's part of this, right? Is about really adopting that entrepreneurial identity, and everybody is going to be at their own, place, which is why we're taking this pulse right now, just to check in. But sometimes, and this is hard for me. So if you guys relate to this, I'd love to know that I'm not alone in this. It's really easy to want to jump to the doing. Is anybody else like that? You want to jump to the doing? Okay, yeah. And sometimes for us, we have to remind ourselves, and I, we were talking about systems earlier. You'll notice me, I regularly will put my hand on my heart and just breathe and remind myself part of this process is actually not about doing. Not in our traditional way of thinking about it. So part of what we're doing is retraining ourselves to highlight what Sean said, to slow down, to be present, to be with the resistance, to notice it. I want to do something. Like, I feel you, right? I hear you that you want to do something, because the more we embody that entrepreneurial identity, that's at the base. Then the doing and then the results, they come.
Yes. Thank you for adding that. I'm just so fired up about the embodiment work, everything that Michelle just said, because it completely changed my life. You'll hear stories as the program goes along.